Everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom podcast on the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. Whether you're joining us on LTN, YouTube, the Glue Network, or wherever you find podcasts, thank you for joining us. Today, I am joined by Emmanuel Threatt, who has, man, you just got like a girthy amount of stuff that you do, like life and ministry wise. But I think primarily today we're going to talk about hope vibes, music, Charlotte, and everything else. So introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what's up.
Yeah, yeah, man. Well, first off, thanks for having me on here, bro. It's been good. It's been obviously I've been watching your journey for a while, and it's always encouraging to see your impact in the nerd comic book space, and but you're also your faith in God and commitment for souls for the kingdom. So I just love it. But yeah, my name is Emmanuel Threatt, and I am one of the founders of Hope Vibes. And me and my wife, Adrienne, we co-founded Hope Vibes back in 2018. And with really the sole purpose is to bring solutions for individuals who are experiencing homelessness, hygiene solutions to them. And so I started back out in 2018 and with just backpacks and a group of friends and hit the streets of Uptown Charlotte was just wanting to, really have conversations, love on people, and then found out real soon that needs were extremely high, and they continue to be high, and it honestly it hasn't changed much over the years, but the opportunities to build with individuals who are experiencing homelessness is the driving force behind there and showing God's love to them. So that's what we do.
So, and you mentioned this out the gate, and I know we haven't gotten all the details of everything Hope Vibe dubs yet, but like, what sustained you to keep going this long? Because you're like, what, 8 years deep,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yep.
like,
8. Yeah. Honestly, it's the people. It's the people that we serve. It's the volunteers that come out. 100% honestly, there's days that I don't want to go. Like I don't want to serve. I don't want to be out there because it's hard, right? I mean, to see people at their potential lowest points and having to deal with that week after week, consistently, and not having not having full like answers, right? Like I don't have a house to put somebody in. I don't even have like the resources, even in Charlotte, aren't allocated enough to the right places all the times where people can even get the housing vouchers that they need. And so it's like you're out there and you have to take it out of the perspective like I'm going to solve their full problem. I'm only here at this moment for them to experience God's love and in a practical way. And that's providing hygiene solutions, that's providing mobile laundry, mobile showers, a listening ear, prayer. And so, I mean, it's really, it's just being committed, really.
that's like, because one of the things that I've seen, and this is no shade to anybody else that's ever done this type of ministry, but one of the things that I see is this is a ministry potentially like the same way that people treat like missions work overseas or anything else. They're like, yeah, that's cool for one weekend. That's cool for a minute. Because like my church has done plenty of stuff like, hey, let's collect backpacks and do food and hygiene stuff. They'll do that one weekend, like, cool, I'm done
Yeah.
for like ever now. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
For forever.
forever. Or like we'll do like food drives or we'll
Yeah.
feed, the like folks that are struggling with housing once a year or something like that. And it's just like people are cool, but to be able to have that kind of drive where you keep doing this, like
Mhm.
I know that's a burden. It can be, but not that all burdens are bad. Sometimes they're just responsibilities, but like that's a that's a lot on your family and everything because this isn't the only thing you do.
Right. And I think, part of as a believer, there's responsibilities and obligations that we have as a believer. And I personally, I take those seriously. I mean, scripture talks about that, true religion looks like taking care of
Widows and
the
orphans.
widows and orphans, right? And so like that's when I think about that scripture and those verses and see how Jesus moved when he was interacting during his ministry time, like I you know, I'm not Jesus, we're not Jesus, and so we're human. And so, like I said, I'm honest. Like there's moments where I don't want to do it. Um, but God reminds me that like no, there's sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do in order to have the impact that I'm calling you to have. And it's uncomfortable and the reality is after every single time, it never fails. I'll be getting ready to go and I'm like, bro, I don't even want to go out there today. I go out and it was great. And it blessed me and it encouraged me and it uplifted me. And so it's like, yeah, we're out there providing those resources and encouraging others and churches and other believers and individuals and whoever to come out to, donate their time and energy. But the reality is, a lot of times those individuals get blessed just as much as the individuals that are experiencing homelessness gets blessed. And so it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
And Charlotte, for y'all that are in different parts of the world, Charlotte's a huge city.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I don't expect you to have all the numbers or anything, but like, what's the homeless population in the Charlotte region roughly? Like,
It's a little
that
bit over 3,000 chronically homeless individuals. And so that's individuals who are living outside in the elements consecutively for I think it's 6 months, something like that. It's like a period of time that they're deemed like chronic homelessness. And so yeah, we're right over it. It's actually increased. When we first started, it was more like 2,500, but now it's pushing more like three, which makes sense because the population of Charlotte has grown and consistently grows. And so, I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so like you said you started with like backpacks and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, you operate now, fill me in on all the stuff that I'm missing, but like you have a mobile unit that's laundry and that's showers and like obviously that's a big expense. Like what's been the process of you as your family and as Hope Vibes going from like grassroots and ground level to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so when we first started and had the idea of the Hope Tank, which is that mobile laundry shower unit, it literally started with whiteboarding, paper, just dreaming. No, we don't have any resources, and we had a handful of like people who were coming out with us already, just with the backpacks and just going out and having conversation. And so we just started like really just sharing the idea with them, and we continued to share. We shared it on social media. We shared it all over, and eventually we ended up getting a grant from an organization and bought a box truck off of Facebook Marketplace for like 8,500 bucks. And so we did a lot of the work and as we continue to like build this truck and we documented everything and showed it on social media and people supported it. And so like I said, we didn't have anything but an idea and we continued to work at it and push it and it took so we started pushing the idea 2019, and then it was completed 2020 of October, right? Like height of pandemic. And that's when we launched it. And um, yeah, but I mean, it took, there's a time where we had to stop a little bit because funds dried up and we had to wait for other grants to come in or other dollars to come in. And then we got back to work and so, I mean, it's been a journey. At the same time, we never stopped going out. The frequencies might have changed. We went from at one point going out five, no, about 10 times a month. Now, and because of life stuff, we're only going out 2 times a month. And so It's a part of the journey, but we don't stop though. The goal is to get that frequency back up as we bring in more people and train other people. We have another truck that's 98% complete. It just needs a
Okay.
wrap on it. And so, I can't drive two trucks. And so the idea is to train up other groups of the churches who have a heart for uh, our unhoused neighbors, but don't have like the means or the resources to do something like that. So we just, hey, we have it. Let's train you. You go take the truck wherever you need to take it and bring it back. And that's the goal, so that it can have the resources that we have can have the biggest impact that they need to have. It doesn't serve any purpose by just being in a parking lot, just saying we got it. Nah, like the goal is to train those with like-minded hearts and minds to take it out to those who need it.
I'm gonna have to hook you up with it. Have you met a new pastor in Charlotte named Josue?
I haven't. Nope.
Okay, I'm a when we're done here, I'm gonna get you Josue's information.
Yeah.
Um, they just launched in Charlotte um less than 2 years ago, and they're like at 2,000 people, and
Oh,
they're like super mission minded. But
yep.
I got to be part of like when they were church planting and stuff, and I was just like, man, like I'm kind of sad you're not in my area because I'd rock with you.
I love it. I love it.
That's one of the sucky things about being a pastor is like you see other churches doing stuff and you're like, I can't go be with you. It's like I gotta be with my
Right.
church.
Exactly. Exactly.
Gotta be with my people.
Yep.
So you're doing this. You mentioned funding from grants. How else is Hope Vibes funded?
Individuals, churches, businesses, things like that. We right now we've focused a lot of energy on, like, we still get some grants here and there, but we focus a lot of energy on building the individual donor because grants are so unpredictable at times, and we've really had to shift the model from being a 80/20 nonprofit to a 20/80, where 20% is like grants and stuff like that. And so um it's hard. It's been, again, we didn't go into this with the idea of being, founding nonprofit people, right? We're going into this thing like, oh my goodness, there's a need, and God is leading us down this path. And now we find ourselves, 8 years later, like, oh man, we're founders, and we're having to think through things that we never thought we've had to think through, as far as in the nonprofit world. And so learning along the way, making mistakes, trying to do things better, but with the same heart and mind of, uh, is this where God is leading us? And again, the reality is a lot of times, you know, how I'm built is I enjoy building stuff, like not just building like physical things, but building like having ideas, having, you know, programs, and then building it up and seeing it and then launching it out. I enjoy doing that. And so to be in a position where like having built something, but in some ways having to stay is hard for me, right?
W-
And
w-
so
When
that's
you
that's yeah.
when you've got a spirit of vision, it's hard to keep looking at the same thing you built.
Exactly. And so it's like, okay. And so that's where it's again trusting God, like, okay, I don't want to move past where I'm supposed to be, but at the same time, it's like, God, we can we I can look at some other stuff if I would like to, look at have another vision. So that's where those other things have come up more recently. It's like, man, I need some new energy around the things. And so there's some other stuff that we're working on that is still it's connected to the vision of Hope Vibes, but it's a little bit it's fresh for us.
So let's say your season with Hope Vibes ends,
Mhm.
and it's passing on to somebody else or whatever. You're
Mhm.
letting go. What does a finish line look like for you? For do you be able to say, all right, now we're pressing forward somewhere else?
So that would look like a new executive director coming in and running with it, taking all the things that we've done and take it to the moon. still with the same heart, same, passion and just building on what's already there. I mean, and the reality is we're at that place. We're at that place where we're like, okay, we might still be, on the board or still be in an advisory role, but we're ready to make a shift because we've done it. We've been doing it for so long, and um, I feel like there's growth and things that can happen, but I don't know if we're the ones to take it to its full potential, which I'm perfectly fine with. There was a season where it wasn't like that. Early on, maybe like year 5 or 6, we were like, I don't know. I mean, it still was very holding it on like a child, like, oh, we're raising it up, has to make it grow and things like that. But I feel like it's at this point, we view it more like, all right, somebody else it's time for it might be like, even though it's an 8-year-old nonprofit, it's almost like it's in its preteen stage where it's like they go off to they're going to school independently. We're seeing them less and less, uh, but there's still some very intentional hands-on cultivating that needs to happen. It's not a full adult yet, and I don't see Hope Vibes ever being. I mean, this is mine. I don't know if it's ever going to be something that is on a like a big player systematic nonprofit level, because there's something that still needs to be there that is very on the ground boots, grass level, because
It's
once you go
relational.
yeah, once you go too big and like system, then you lose the touchability, the the realness of what Hope Vibes is. We're talking about laundry and showers. Like that's real. And the person who is running Hope Vibes doesn't need to be far away from that. They need to be close to that because that's people. That's relationships, and that's the real issues that's going on with the unhoused population. So yeah.
Being in a city like Charlotte, and I know you're not like throwing, I'm not asking you to throw stones or anything, but what do you
I
feel
will.
like?
I can. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you will get them, get them. What what can Charlotte as a city
Yeah.
and North Carolina as a state do better to help the unhoused population?
Man, there's a lot, but there definitely needs to be a bigger push for housing, housing first. So that's building things and supporting things that will allow individuals who are experiencing homelessness to just be able to go into that space where they are safe and they don't have to think about their like the where they're gonna eat, where they're gonna sleep next. Like get them in a place of safety first, out of a survival mindset, and then work towards the goals that they have. Whether even if they are, working through some substance abuse issues, fine. But there needs to be clear paths to get people into stable housing, creative, so that there's a creative solutions in there as well. So not only just having like, you know, apartments, but there's small, tiny homes or micro homes. There is working with programs from in hotels that are actually safe and actually doing, good work. There's an array of housing opportunities, not just housing vouchers that, people have to get apartments with, or shelters, or like there's only like 3 or 4 different things right now, but we need a host of other opportunities, creative solutions that people can have, because not everybody can go to a an apartment building. They might have real issues that other people like. It's like, no, that's not going to work. They're not ready for that. All right. So we got them in a small, tiny home community that might be a little bit, tucked away, but we're able to work with them and deal with whatever they got to deal with to get them to the next phase, which could be an apartment, which ultimately could lead to a house. But a lot of times there's things that are, unfortunately, there are players in the picture that use like there's a lot of money that comes through. There's a lot of money that is not used appropriately, right? Like when poor people, unhoused people are in place, there's dollars that come through and sustain. And I don't have these dollars like that, but they're there. They're the big like I mean, you're talking about millions of dollars that like get allocated, and I'm like, to for just a handful of big organizations to do good work. Like I'm not no shade to the roof aboves. They got apartment buildings, they got renovating things, but that's only one organization. There's a handful of organizations out there that, with given the right opportunity, would um, create solutions to add to the landscape of what the housing needs are. I mean, we hear it all the time how much housing is needed, but there's only a few paths for those housing options, right? So apartments, um, you have shelters, you have kind of like the room, you can rent a room kind of situation. But there's other creative ideas out there that I think haven't even be tapped into.
Going, I mean, all of that obviously is sad and accurate. Um, what can the church do better?
So I think that's one of the biggest gaps, right? So there's a couple models here in the city that I love, and I see where churches have used unused land to build housing developments, to build apartments, to build things. I feel like any church that has land that they can use needs to be using it to for some type of housing, whether that's micro homes, an apartment, working with developers in order to build affordable housing on their property. And there's a lot of things from my opinion go that's a benefit, right? So like from the in the unseen, you're talking about you're creating territory space where you are pretty much a land that is prayed over, hopefully prayed over, but it is
Hopefully,
hopefully prayed over, anointed, and things automatically like they don't have spiritual rights to this spot. It's already taken care of, and so on the in the unseen realm, that's huge, right? But then in the practical sense, you have a community of believers that is supposed to have God's heart towards people who are in these situations, already there, already can be show love, and they just need a space to demonstrate that love. And so I'm not talking about, building a 200 unit apartment building. I'm talking about 10, 15. That's people, 20 people, serving them, loving on them, and keep it moving. So I feel like there's in that sense, there's opportunities for and even if a church doesn't have land, partner with the church that does, 4 or 5 churches that partner together to build on a church property, some affordable housing. You do 15, 20 of those over with, Charlotte has what, 1,000 plus churches. You're talking about a real impact to that 3,000 person chronic homeless situation that we see. Um, I'm gonna throw the shade, throw the shots, throw the shots. I don't, the church don't need another build, a big old building. We need to be hitting the streets and having the impact. Use that land instead of building your new auditorium. Build some affordable housing. I promise you, you will see a greater return investing into those individuals' lives than you would see in the kingdom's economy than putting a new auditorium in place. That's just my 2 cents. I'm saying, y'all can be mad at me if y'all want, but
ain't
I'm
nobody
too
can be mad at
I'm
you.
too old to care right now. I'm like, yo, this I've been doing this too long. This is what I see.
You starting to get that old person,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a
It's
part of
like
like, you know what? I'm just gonna speak the truth because I
that's
don't care
right.
anymore. That's it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I've been
Yeah.
there a hot minute. Um, And it matters. I mean, like you can't hear what Jesus says in Matthew 25 of, like I was naked and you clothed me and I was like you can't hear that stuff and just be like, cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna ignore that though.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, it's easy, especially in the American culture that we live in. It's easy to ignore it. See a person standing on the corner with a sign, it's easy to not look at them and look at your phone. It's easy just to ride by. Like, and obviously, and the reality is that individual doesn't represent the majority of individuals that are experiencing homelessness. Most of the people that are experiencing homelessness that we see have multiple jobs, maybe living in the vehicle, living in the shelter, and you would never know that they are struggling the way they are.
We had a gentleman in our congregation who told me as the pastor, like, hey, listen, if you see me here in my car, here's why, but I don't
Hmm.
want everybody else to know.
Hmm.
And because he's like, I want to come be part of the church, and
Yep.
I don't want, automatically to be like the missions project.
Right.
He's like, that's just I don't think people see a lot of times. I don't think people see homeless people as people,
Yep.
and I don't think they see them as part of the kingdom.
Yep.
And like, I think that's just a callousness. Like you mentioned, like it's easier to look at our phones than
Hmm.
to. And I've got a young lady in my congregation named Lyric, idealist, go getter, like every problem that she sees in the world spiritually, she expects us to solve it. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
that fire. And so she like pulled me aside. She's like, let's get lunch. I'm like, okay. She's like, all right, how are we going to fix the homeless problem in our town?
Mm.
That's just like, and
I
the
love it.
the old tired in me just wants to be like, we can't.
Yeah.
Like not, but like, and that's the thing, like I'm glad that there are people that still have that fire.
Yep.
And they need to spread it. And so like we did stuff and we checked, like not checked the boxes, but we went through, here's all the ways we can help in our community.
Hmm.
um but then like it didn't take long for us to get to a point where like, see, now everybody's tired
Yep.
and
So
we're gonna
yeah.
conveniently forget.
Yeah. So that's from the beginning, putting in the systems in place in order for it to be sustained, right? Like it's like that's the those practical things. It's like, okay, if we want this to live beyond us, we have to put systems in place in order for this to be something that can be funded, duplicated, and continue to have impact if every single person on this team is no longer here. Like and that's from day one. Like you're looking at like, man, because I think about organizations, you have bigger organizations like Goodwills and things like that. But even local here in Charlotte, you have like the Charlotte Rescue Mission. Like that's 100+ year old organization. Like the people who started that, they're not here anymore. At least I hope they're not here anymore. I mean, they might be in some cryogenic state or something like that. But they're not here anymore like that. But the heart and the vision of what they started is still running. And obviously, so somebody along the way was like, let's create the systems and the programs that we need in order to see this thing sustained um well beyond us. Because now it's just like, you have another executive director. They're just taking the mission and keeping it moving. And so even when we think about like programs within churches, that's the kind of thoughts that we have to say. It's like, okay, all right, Miss Lyric, this is this is your energy right now, but who's next? Who you tapping next? While we're moving forward, you're looking at your next person now. Like, yeah, we just started. It doesn't matter. Let's find that person. When we find them, they need to be getting trained, and then eventually they're gonna find that person, and then it just continues to go.
We've got a place in Lumberton, and I know Lumberton is vastly not Charlotte, but it's got its own issues and
Yeah.
problems.
Yep.
And there was a soup kitchen and resource center for the unhoused uh, in Lumberton, better part of 20 years, and it was run by one woman.
Yeah. Yep.
and her name was Miss Rose. And I'm talking every day she made dinner,
Yeah.
and she
Yep.
put a resource closet together, and she did it for every day for 20 years.
Yep.
Outside of the day, like the week her daughter got married, she was hustling.
Mm.
No system built. And I
Yes.
mean, she got volunteers,
Yeah.
but it got to the point she got old enough that she couldn't do it,
Yep.
and it's
And
closed.
it's closed.
It's
And like
closed.
that, and it's like, man, you hate hearing things like that because it's like that is impact, that is kingdom, that is all the things. And it's like, but it ends with that one person when it easily, not easily, but it could have been something that you still see, maybe even a version of it. It's like, hey, that's why those, you have your succession plans are vital. Like you have to have them, because where it's not. I mean, it's biblical. We see it in scripture. Jesus himself, God in the flesh on the earth. He didn't just be like, yo, I got this. I got this. Like, y'all, I don't need no help. I got this and just handle it. No, he got 12 and he poured into them because he knew like, okay, I'm not gonna be here like this. Holy Spirit gonna be here. He got the power given to the people, but it's gonna have global impact. If Jesus needed 12, then what we think we definitely need at least one.
Yeah, I think we need more than Jesus.
Yes.
On kind of that note, and not trying to like, hit super negative with it, but like, how has the impact been on your family through this whole process?
So, I mean, so one of the obviously the big things is financially, this is not something that is a lucrative business. I got four children, three of them are triplets that are three. And so it is one of those things where it is that's your frequency
That's your
has
whole life.
yeah, that's my whole life. Like literally it is like that is what I do. And so, you know, very early on, it's a understanding there's has to be balance. Um, there has to be, when the little ones got here, where before it was me and my wife going out doing things together, and my oldest, he'll come with us. But when the little ones got here, we tried to bring the little ones out to a survey, and it was chaotic. We learned very quickly this is not going to work. Somebody, like one of the little ones, running out into the road. I'm like, Lord Jesus, it's hard to stay focused, right? When you got little ones and doing that. And so early on, it's one of those things where we knew that we had to put it in its right place. Family is the first ministry, and um, even though even though it's something that we have poured our lives into, it can't consume every single waking moment. It's not we're not able to do it. And so that's again where we're leaning on others, trying our best to build systems to still have impact when we are not there. And that's easier said than done in a lot of ways because, you know, even though you have volunteers that can come out and be a part and they love it, a volunteer is a lot different than somebody who you pay. It's a different vibe. It's a different day. You be able to help somebody by, paying them for their time is a lot different involvement than a person who's just volunteer. Now, you can get some volunteers that really will do good. Um, but a lot of times those volunteers, they just, especially if they have life and things going on, they're gonna choose their life stuff before
When there's
the
there's a whole
the
level of accountability that comes with
it's a
pay
different
too.
level. It's a different level. And so being able to balance all that is it's been important. It's been it hasn't been hard. It's just been something that we've just been able to having to do. Financially, it's been one of those things that has been the hardest, because it's not. If you're running off of grants, you're running off of individual donations, and if things you have a season where things don't go well, or you're not able to do grants, then or reach out back out to donors, then that goes down. Well, if your main source of income is that, then your house's income go down. And that's where we found ourselves in maybe about when the little ones were, so my wife, she was the main one doing the grants. And when the babies got here, you're talking about, 9 months. Well, yeah, she went a little bit, 8 months of not able to do, she not doing it. She's just trying to survive through holding three babies.
If you got three babies, you
Yes.
on difficulty
Whole,
mode.
her whole focus was that. And we didn't have the systems in place for somebody else to be like, yo, I'm focusing on grants. It wasn't there. And so you're talking about a good year and a half, 2 years where we are literally trying to survive with three little ones, figuring out what did we get ourselves into, and can we get out of it? We can't get out of this. This is our life now. My God. And and so there's a season where two and a half, we're just coming out of it, of no grants being pushed, no like real donor management happening. And so you're just like, God, we're having to trust you. And so, and he's come through, like, but it's scary, right? You're talking about not knowing where resources coming in, mortgage, how you gonna pay, and he comes through, and somebody shows up with a check, or some big donation comes in, some grant comes in that you didn't even apply for, comes in, and you're like, oh Lord, thank you, God. But it's scary. It's scary. And it's like really like trusting God at a deeper level. And you know, on real, like that's the kind of stuff that is not in any book, right? Anybody's like, I was not prepared for that. And I'm one of those kind of people like I will go find some money. I will go do something. But if the energy or the time or the capacity isn't even there, right? So we're trying to handle three little ones. Like when I tell you that season, that first year and a half, the hardest thing I've ever done was raising those three little ones from newborn to 1.5. Like super hard, like depressing hard, because your whole like you're moving. We are go-getters, right? We are visionaries. We launching stuff out, and it's an immediate halt. Everything shuts down, and everything is laser focused on these three little humans that are beautiful gifts from God that consume every single waking moment of your life. But we're grateful.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just you can't prepare for that, and like you also like can't come to a place where like none of this matters now. You can't
Right.
just say
Exactly.
it's a hard place to balance. And
Yep.
so, first of all, congratulations on doing a good job.
Appreciate it.
You here,
We
but
here.
still,
I'm telling you, like people don't get it. Like, yeah, I don't understand. Us being here and us still seeing where Hope Vibes is even here, man, it's literally by God's grace. Because in all natural sense, it shouldn't even be here. It
and
should have been
there's
folded.
no shade to anyone else, but I've seen other people in ministries, especially ministries that a single family kind of carried, and they'll hit a life change and they'll just be like, all right, we're just gonna quietly like
Mhm.
slide out right now because this is more than we thought. And I get it.
I
Um,
get it, 100%.
and I know that God's what sustained you through this. So, and I know have you the rest of this way, but I know that I fully recognize I know this wasn't easy
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to still be here. So outside of Hope Vibes, who are you? Like,
So yeah, outside of Whole Vibes, I obviously a father, but I'm a musician, creative rapper, part of a big squad called the Just His League, and we've
we
been
had
rock.
cut right on a
Oh
few
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
a
The
year or
home
so
right.
back.
Um, doing music with those guys for man almost 15 years. It's been close to 15 years, and it's that's a joy to be a part of. Seeing all those guys growing in their family situation and doing all kinds of stuff. Cut right doing amazing things with his music has been super fun to see. Um, and then like I said, I'm a creative individual and I have to produce certain things and like see it out there. More recently, we've been putting together these. I've been really big into coffee, and been putting together these holy coffee parties called Big Drip Revival. And so to
First of all, chef's kiss on the branding.
yeah, appreciate that,
It's
appreciate
just
that.
like because I remember, I mean, obviously big tent revivals were a
Yep,
thing,
yep.
and like there's a band when I was growing up called Big Tent Revival. But the first time I saw Big Drip Revival, I'm like, I didn't even know it was you yet, and I'm like, mm, I'm
Yes.
jealous of whatever this is.
Yeah, man. It came from that lane. Like, man, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, so I really coffee has been one of those things for the past like 4 years where it's really, I got really into it. And I'm like, man, I really enjoy drip coffee. And so, like, that's my goal. And just black, delicious drip coffee. And so I'm like, but I want these parties to be like have a feel of like that energy, like those tent revivals. Like it just was like God's there, but it's like almost insane. Like you go to them joints and be like, "Yo, this is crazy." People, depending on which one you go to, people running up down the aisles, and it's just, some of it wild, but God's presence. Let God's presence be there. And so I'm like, I want to bring that energy, that same kind of vibe, um, to these parties. And so it's just finding ways to engage a culture that is one experiencing loneliness at its highest. Like people are super connected through internet and all the things, but they're super lonely. And so I'm like, nah, we need to bring like it's an actual event. You come to, you're part of something. We play games, Uno, we play in, Hungry Hippos, whatever. And we drinking coffee, we listening to music, Christian hip hop music, Christian house music, and more and playing Bible trivia, just doing all kinds of just fun stuff. And more recently, we've been introducing some live music, live bands and stuff like that. And so, and just building a culture around being connected, right? Um, and for people who maybe haven't had a great experience in a church. They might not ever go to a church. They might scared to go back to a church because of whatever they experience. Come to an environment like that, experience God. Hopefully, they'll get back plugged into a church community, or if this is the community that they want to get plugged into, we be consistent. They just plug in, right? Um, and so, yeah, that's it.
I saw you got one. I know. I think this is airing Friday, but you've got one scheduled for Friday or Saturday, May 2nd, right?
Yep, yep.
You got any further out planned?
Yeah, so well, I have they're coming out. There's definitely one. We try to do one each month, and so we're still working on the confirmation dates, but there's definitely one in the works for June and July. And so I'm trying to get those. I try to keep them. So these things have been popping, and the reality is we didn't start it with the idea like these are going to be some big old things. Like it just really was just like, hey, we're gonna just get up together and drink coffee with
The
like my
promo for the first one really seemed like, hey, here's an idea.
yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Like it's just like, yo, this is what we're doing. And then this year, so we did like this is our sixth one that we've done. The first starting in 26, from the first one, we're talking about 100-person RSVP list with an 80-person wait list. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, chill out. Like, I'm okay, no, don't chill, God, this is what you're gonna do. But the we're having to kind of play like little catch up to figure out exactly what this is all doing. Um, and so I try to keep the dates kind of close until we get closer to it. So it's, you know,
Well,
people get more excited about it and
I'm just
plug in.
throwing it out. If it happens to be the same weekend as Heroes Con, that'd be super dope.
When is Heroes Con?
Oh, I want to say it's the week before Father's Day, maybe like June 12th, June 14th, whenever that mid June, somewhere in
It
there.
might we might have to work something out. I don't know. We
I don't
see.
know, man. We can tag it up, but like I know I want to come. Um,
Yeah,
but like I and that's just one of those things. Is that same thing? You know, you just rooting for people doing good stuff on the even on the other side of the state.
yep.
Um, but I'm excited for you, man. What would be the best way people could pray for you, your family, your ministry, across the board? Like now, what would be the what you would hope for most in prayer?
Yeah, so personally, um, really just our family, just continues to pray for health for our family, emotionally, mentally. Um, Again, we're still trying to like navigate life with three little ones. Like that consumes like a lot of our lives. And they're not in any kind of like daycare or anything like that. And so just like okay, God, how are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to do all the things that we feel like you've put inside of us and obviously given us with our three little ones and our oldest, like he's 14 and he's navigating he got a whole nother situation with 14 and he's a big 14, but he's still a kid. And so it's just like, man, so anyway, just praying for us as adult family, parents that we're good stewards over what God has given us, and I know God will provide because he does provide, but that He continues to provide. And then when we talk about like the things, hope vibes, really, my prayer is that God will bring in people that will take what hope vibes is and it becomes it becomes their mission, and like there's no other motives behind it, but just I want to see it grow. I want to see it have impact. And if God allows us to pass it on, we find the right people to pass it on to. But in that it continues to build, it continues to grow. I believe that there needs to be hope tanks throughout in other cities and other areas, but it takes people with capacity and further vision to do that. Um,
Have you
and so
happened to heard of Suds of Love?
yes, yes. So interesting fact, and you can shout out to oh man, what's her name? I forgot her name, but so if you see the Suds of Love, you're seeing a version of the Hope Tank because so she came out and served with us a handful of times, saw how we ran the Hope Tank, saw what the Hope Tank is. I helped her figure out exactly like dryers, how things needed to be positioned, all the things. And so it's not like a Hope Vibes, but it's a cousin. We'll just call this a cousin of Hope Vibes and the Hope Tank. So shout out.
I saw that being developed, and I'm like, okay.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
like, look at the multiplication.
hmm Yep. And so that's the thing is like I would love, even if we're not directly connected, I would love for that kind of thought, that kind of motto and heart to be throughout um throughout the East Coast. And I mean I don't see why not. And so but the reality is I don't have the capacity, I don't have the personal capacity to do that, right? And so there has to be somebody else that comes along and says, okay, let me, let's do this. And we're open to that. So prayer for that, like prayer that God would open those doors and yeah.
If hitting back to your music real quick, uh, if there were three songs of yours or that you're involved in that you would want people to hear,
Mm.
what would you want them to be?
All right. So one of the most recent songs that we me and Cut did was when the recent this has been a couple years ago. It's called Show Up, and it's Holy Spirit Show Up. It sings fire. It sings fire. But then another song is, and I'm gonna make sure I say it right. Let me look it up real quick. Um, is a we did the league did the Seven Last Words project,
Hmm.
and my song is I want to say it's like number 7 on the project. It's called Into Thy Hands, and it's a really cool like it's one of my favorite songs because it takes a creative kind of liberty in Um, and that last kind of moments, those moments of a, it's through the perspective of one of the guards. It's actually so I can't remember his name. I think scripture actually says his name, but you have a person, one of the guards, his ear gets cut off right by Peter,
It's
and
Malchus's servant.
yeah, 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 it's something like that. But so I take the liberty of pretty much saying like imagining if I'm communicating it through his perspective. Like he's at the garden, he gets his ear cut off. He's seen Jesus. Heard things about him before. He get his ear put back on. It's like, oh snap! But he's also at the cross, and he sees these things, and then he's in a retrospective place, like in his at his house, like, dude, is he really like the Son of God? Like asking these questions, like he's experienced a miracle, and then he's like part of the crucifixion and man and so it's one of my favorite songs just because it was fun to write and fun to kind of be in that perspective and so yeah,
Okay.
and I think probably the last one would be um um uh you're gonna laugh. This is funny. So this is a super silly song, 100% silly.
Hey, we need it.
It, it's called Waddle Like a Mama. So I made it. I made it while my wife was pregnant with the triplets. It's a silly, like fun, super hype, but it's like pretty much like a dance version of a song that's about pregnant mamas with babies.
There needs to
So
be a pregnant dance mama anthem.
it's definitely a pregnant dance mama anthem, and it's Waddle. I mean, when I tell you my wife, as beautiful as she was waddling with them three babies in her. And so there's a little video that we put together. She's dancing in it. It's great. So yeah, go check those out.
All right, we'll make sure we have those linked up in there too.
Yes,
If
yes,
people
yes.
want to follow you or Hope Vibes, what socials or places should they go?
So me personally, it's Oh Boy Fresh. So OhBoyPhresh. So Oh Boy Fresh. And then Hope Vibes is Hope Vibes, um, Hope Vibes INC. I think that's what it is. Oh no, Hope Vibes COT. I got it all jacked up. Yep, Hope Vibes COT. Yep, yep. And so that's everything you can follow me there. You can follow the trail to get to Big Drip Revival as well, and all the things that we got going on there.
Anything else you want to say before we out?
No, man, I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation. Um,
We
yeah,
ain't talked this long period
I
ever.
know. Seriously, it's been great. It's been great. I hope that when people listen to this, they're encouraged. One, like God gives people vision, and don't be afraid to step out on faith and walk in whatever you feel like. Take those first steps, regardless of what you think you need to do. Put together, create a micro plan and get going, because you do not have time to waste. And so hopefully it encourages with Hope Vibes, it encourages you to get active, but also those things that are just in you, get active.
All right. Thank y'all for joining with us, Emmanuel. Thank you for hanging out with me for this bit and sharing, man. I've been rooting for you for like since I first heard of you and met you, and I'm praying that God's going to do the things you've asked for, and that we're going to be joining with you. And I hope it times out I get to come by a big drip revival sometime soon.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but thank y'all for joining with us. Remember, you can check this out on Love Thy Nerds YouTube. You can find this on the Faith and Fandom Love Thy Nerd YouTube, on the Glue Network on Roku, and wherever you get your podcasts. But we hope to see y'all soon. And thanks again.